I too would like to join with people who commend Natasha O'Brien for coming out into the public telling her story. But I would caution, the case of the man involved is far from over. And the last thing we want to do is provide some sort of a defence that he has already been tried in the public domain. So I think we need to be very careful and very measured in what we say. I have always supported the Defence Forces, and today I am horrified by the statements being made by members of this House and members of the lower house and by the Taoiseach. They talk about the Defence Forces shielding and hiding people within the organisation who would be responsible for vicious acts. Let's be clear about it. The Defence Forces are responsible to implement Defence Force regulations as set down by the government and by the Minister of the day. The officer who was forced into court, or who was sent into court in the O'Brien case, was bound under Defence Force Regulation A7, Part 12, paragraphs 55 to 58. As a commissioned officer, he was expected to go in there and deliver an honest appraisal of the man's service in the Defence Forces. He was not defending him in any way. He was merely carrying out his duty as per Defence Force regulations. With respect to calls for people to be dishonourably discharged or removed from the Defence Forces, Defence Force Regulation A10, paragraph 58 is very clear. And it states, I won't read the entire part, but I'll give the one on a suspensory sentence. If the conviction carries a suspensory sentence, the discharge, if directed, will be carried out as soon as possible after the case has been dealt with by the civil power. Discharges under this subparagraph will not be carried out until it has been ascertained that no appeal is pending, or where an appeal has been made until the appeal has been heard and determined. These are the regulations set down by the Minister. The Defence Forces are obliged to carry out Defence Force regulations as laid down. If we're to make an argument today, we should make an argument that it's time we reviewed all of the Defence Force regulations in order that we bring them into the modern era. But I will not tolerate or stand idly by while people denigrate the force that I served in, that I loved, and the people that I worked with. Honourable, decent people are in that organisation, horrified by what has happened by a very small number of people. But I will guarantee you, you go into any organisation in the country and you will find similar people. So let's not blacken everybody at the same time. It really is desperately hurtful.
But I also want to acknowledge the equally impassioned speech of Senator Craughwell, who was a former serving member of the Irish Defence Forces. And it is important to acknowledge that not every member engages in activity of that nature. In fact, it's a very small number. But the vast majority of men and women serving in our Defence Forces are exemplary individuals that serve their country, serve the state, and are patriots. And I'm sure, like all of us, they are deeply saddened by the Natasha O'Brien case and any other challenges within the Defence Forces. And it's difficult for those members to listen to the sometimes consistent denigrating of the Defence Forces and its members, as if everybody should be brushed with the same brush. I think both individuals made very important comments coming at it from different angles, but both very relevant.